Hey there, Mike Giannotti here at the Philadelphia MTC for monitoring and troubleshooting your Azure applications, part 2 of 3, a DBA's perspective. And for that today, I'm joined by the following.
Rich Ross, Solution.
Bill Emmert.
Thought we were going to do the intros again. Well, it's a separate video.
Yes, it is.
Solution Architect at the MTC.
Bill Emmert, I cover the data platform.
And Todd First, I cover cloud infrastructure.
So tomorrow we talked about in part 1 about some things to monitor as you're developing your app in the cloud. But you know, as people are developing these applications, a lot of times it's going to be back-ended by a database. And tomorrow when our
database,
and that database is
SQL Server.
Boom. And so SQL runs great in the cloud.
Yes, it does.
Love it in Azure. And tomorrow, when our healthcare customer comes in, what are some of the things from a DBA's perspective that you're going to be calling out and calling their attention to?
So the customer really wants to understand what's different about managing a database in the cloud versus what they understand the tasks are on-prem.
Okay.
You know, things that we as Microsoft actually take away from the customer and do not rely on them to actually take advantage or have to execute those tasks, such as database backups and you know, database consistency checks. Those things no longer have to be performed by the DBA. So we'll be covering that and making them understand how they manage and monitor the database.
Nice. And so you're going to be going through that. You're going to go through some of the pieces again that you're taking off the table for them.
That's right.
And then you're also going to be talking about the tasks, because it is still an infrastructure, albeit in the cloud. So obviously as a DBA, there's still going to be tasks they're going to want to perform, right?
Yeah, so there are tasks that they want to perform, and obviously the biggest thing that they're going to come back with is, well, how do we schedule these things? Because there is no SQL agent anymore. So we'll go over exactly how to go about scheduling it, whether you schedule the tasks on-prem or you schedule them in Azure to execute up an app.
So it's not that they've lost functionality in that case, it's changed in how you approach it.
Exactly, and where you want to manage it from. I mean, it can still be managed by executing tasks that are scheduled on-prem and point at Azure in the cloud. The question is that the right place to manage the execution of those tasks, or is it better to manage them in Azure?
So if folks have questions around DBA perspective, they're looking to migrate applications up. They might even be looking to migrate some of those SQL databases, and we've talked about that in the past. They're looking to do stuff with SQL in the cloud. What should they be doing?
Yeah, so a great place right now to start looking at that is in the Azure documentation itself around SQL Server. There's a whole section on monitoring and managing the database, and particularly things that you can no longer do. Like I said, the database consistency checks, you know, on a table consistency. So, you know, some of those things, you know, will be highlighted in that section, and that's really a good place to start. Also, you know, have conversations with your local SQL architects, you know, in Microsoft, you know, MTCs, and also, you know, and also there are plenty of experts out there. The MVPs are a great place to talk to.
So, and I know there's great blogs online where they can go and check out some of that. And then I know you host locally, and actually Rich hosts a .NET group, right, from a developer's perspective. So, and we had these all over the country and even the world.
Right.
User groups, and you do the local SQL user group.
The BI user group, right.
You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, because I do the SharePoint one, which is morphed. It's not just SharePoint anymore, but these ones, they're really all about the cloud.
Yeah.
You know, increasingly, people in these groups are cloud, 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 because that's what's hot and top of mind. And it's a great place to come together with your peers. Actually do that.
I mean, the thing that's great is that, you know, whether I'm running it on-prem or I'm running in the cloud, there's only very small differences in what you can and can't do in the cloud that you can do on-prem, and that, you know, those small differences are becoming fewer and fewer far between.
Awesome. So,
one question for Bill. So there you go.
Tell them.
Well, I'm talking to him.
I know.
So our focus coming up is really on the SQL as a service with the PaaS scenario, but there's some customers are just taking SQL VMs and putting them up in their cloud as well.
Yeah.
Just doing a lift and shift.
Yeah, matter of fact, you know, for third-party applications that don't support
Right, okay,
PaaS,
that's right.
SQL PaaS services, and they want to leverage Azure for, taking advantage of not having to manage equipment and all of that. That's a great opportunity for them to just lift and shift their VM, their VMs if their VMs are already on-prem, or taking the physical and moving it to virtual in Azure, right?
Awesome.
And just extending their network to Azure as part of the whole infrastructure.
And for like at least the last 2 years, that's what we spent most of our time talking about. Bill talks about all this
Existing
stuff.
apps.
Our next session is just about PaaS, so it'll be interesting. The whole infrastructure part is gone, really.
Very cool.
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges that you have to face. I mean, it's not, and we're not going to make it, we're not going to make it sound like it's, a simple lift and shift. There are things that you have
It's
to
not
take
just
into
a button. I
No.
don't just go click and
Well,
it's up.
you know what? So SQL does provide you the capability to take a database and move it up to Azure.
Sure.
And you can determine whether you want to move it to a PaaS
Yeah.
version or whether you want to move it to IaaS.
Right.
And if the VM doesn't exist during the move, it actually creates a VM for you. So yeah, it is
There are
simple in
options.
that case, but there's still a lot of infrastructure stuff that you have to take into consideration.
Yeah.
And that's why I bring Todd along.
That's why you bring Todd on. But also, and again, that kind of brings it back home that if you have questions around this, if you're looking to develop in the cloud, you have these database-driven applications, or you're looking to migrate them, lots of great resources out there, but also we want to encourage you. We've got Bill here in the Mid-Atlantic region, and we have Bill's counterparts at MTCs worldwide that if you talk to your rep, we'd love to have you come on in, talk about those applications, and see how you can approach your individual ones to get up in the cloud and get out of the business of all this on-premise hosting.
You said it best.
Well, there we go. So with that, this is Mike,
Rich?
Bill?
Todd?
I like it, with our part 2 of 3, a database DBA perspective on hosting and monitoring and troubleshooting. I added hosting, I don't know why. Your Azure applications. Stay tuned, come on back after the break, and we're going to have part 3 of 3 on infrastructure management and actually the monitoring end of that. With that, have a great day, take care, and as always, say something, folks.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, bella.